You're listening to
Catholic Sprouts,
the daily podcast for Catholic kids that strives to plant seeds of faith.
Hey there, Sprouts. Today is Friday, August 30th, 2019. This week on the Catholic Sprouts podcast, we have been answering an essential question. Why do we need God? Although there are lots of answers to this question, we've already come up with 4. First of all, God loved us into being, and it is only through knowing Him that we can know ourselves. Next, Jesus alone can save us. We need to pray for our own conversion and for the conversions of others. And praying for conversion is the best way to convert hearts. On the feast day of St. Augustine, we talked about how God alone has the peace we crave. We are restless until we rest in Him. And yesterday, on the feast day of the beheading of St. John the Baptist, we talked about how Jesus Christ is the only true source of strength and courage, and how Jesus is with us when we face even the smallest forms of persecution we might face because we love Jesus. Now, there are many, many other reasons why we need God, but we're going to talk about just one more today, and it's a big one. Now, we need God because this life is so short, and eternity, happy, wonderful, blessed eternity awaits us if we give ourselves to God on this earth. Now, we all know that one day we will die, and death is sort of the great mystery. What happens after we die? We have thoughts, Jesus spoke about it, but there is still a great mystery to it. We don't really know exactly what it will be like. Death is the great leap of faith. And it is a leap of faith because it is our faith that will take us to heaven. But how do we get into heaven? Well, we know one thing for sure. Just simply being a nice person, not being mean or terrible, well, that isn't enough. Yes, it is good to be nice, to be kind, to love people. These are all good things, but it isn't enough. Jesus was very clear on this earth that He is the gateway to heaven. That to get into heaven, we need to believe in Him and do His work. That's what's so important. It's not just about being nice. It's about believing in Jesus. Now, of course, belief in Jesus will lead us to do holy, wonderful things full of love. But first and foremost, we need to do these things because of a belief and a faith in Jesus. I once heard it explained this way, that the only way that we will get into heaven is if we become a part of Jesus Himself. And as part of Jesus Himself, Jesus who was died on the cross, rose from the dead, and ascended into heaven, as a part of Jesus Himself, He will gladly sneak us into heaven with Him. Now, how do we become a part of Jesus Himself? Well, we all know that Jesus ascended back into heaven, and yet the work of Jesus still needs to be done on this earth. His hands and His feet and His voice, they all still need to be at work here on earth. Well, how is that possible? It's possible only through us, through His followers. We know that when we go to the sacrifice of the Mass, we're not only invited to consume Jesus, truly present in His body and blood as bread and wine, but we as a congregation become Jesus's body. We are His body, His hands, His feet, His voice. We are all those things. So when we believe in Jesus and when we allow Him to direct our lives so that we might do His work, we become a part of Him. And that will take us to heaven after this life is over. Now, death is not something that we need to fear. Throughout all of human history, people have been afraid of death, and it is a little scary what comes next. But we know that Jesus Christ conquered death. He died, but death couldn't hold him. He rose from the dead, and he offers that for us too. All we have to do is believe in him and allow that belief to lead us to do his work. And so, friends, I have a challenge for you today. Because it is only belief in Jesus Christ that can lead us to heaven, I want you to reflect for a moment on those that you love that have died. It is important that we continue to pray for them. Many souls get sent to purgatory after they die. We need to remember them, to pray for them, because they are working to become part of Jesus still, so that they might enter heaven. So spend a couple minutes praying for those you love by name, that they might be brought to eternal bliss with Jesus in heaven.
That's it for Catholic Sprouts today. We'll be back tomorrow, but until then, continue to grow in your faith and truly sprout into the beautiful creation that God intended you to be. A quick reminder to the Patreon members that you should head over to the Patreon community to download your child's and your activity for this week. For children, we have a beautiful puzzle that will help them reflect on what we've been talking about. And for adults, we have a very challenging guide for you that I hope will allow you to apply these thoughts directly to your own lives. For the direct link to the Patreon community, just check the notes for this podcast episode.